सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So in the last session we had seen this wonderful BMI chart that was designed by our Puja Gurudev, and we also saw how this same chart can be used to explain many concepts of Vedanta, right? So in the last session we have seen that elaborately, so I am not going to repeat. BMIPFTOET we have seen. Om is our real nature, we are the vasanas, BMI are our instrument with which we identify, and we experience the world of OET, which is the last line, and thus we become, as though we become Jiva PFT. That much we have seen. From the Vivekachoodamani concept that we are studying right now, gross body, subtle body, etc., etc., how this to be understood? So B is the gross body, M and I together forms the subtle body, and V, vasanas, is going to be the causal body, which is going to be explained immediately after this in Vivekachoodamani, right? So that is where we are right now. Now coming back to the verses of Vivekachoodamani, we have seen so far what do you mean by subtle body, what are all its constituents. Individually we have seen the 5 organs of perception, the 5 organs of action, the 5 pranas, the 4 inner instrument, the 4-fold inner instrument, antaḥkaraṇameteṣu. Shankaracharya ji explained, added few more points to it, savasanam, vidya, kama, karma, ityadi. So all that concepts we have seen. We also saw that the defects or functions of the subtle body do not belong to the self. Wrongly identifying with this subtle body, we think that self has got all these things, but actually it is not like that. This also I hope you all have understood. Now, we are just about to start discussion on ahaṃkāraḥ, the ego. So we are in verse number 103. So verses 103, 104 and 105. In 3 verses, Bhagavan Shankaracharya is explaining this concept of ahaṃkāraḥ. Let us start. Verse number 103. antaḥkaraṇameteṣu cakṣurādiṣu varṣmaṇi ahamityabhimānena tiṣṭhatyābhāsatejasā. antaḥkaraṇameteṣu cakṣurādiṣu varṣmaṇi ahamityabhimānena tiṣṭhatyābhāsatejasā. Right. So, what is Shankaracharya saying? We have seen antaḥkaranam, the inner instrument. Bahishkaranam, antaḥkaranam. Bahishkaranam means the outer instrument. In that outer instrument, we saw 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action. Jnanendriya, Pancha and Karmendriya. Pancha Jnanendriya, Pancha Karmendriya. The inner instrument is basically thought. That also we have seen. But what kind of thought it is, based on that, we divided that antaḥkarana into 4 categories. Right? Mana, Buddhi, Chitta and ahaṃkāraḥ. Mana, sankalpa vikalpātmakam manaha. Mind is when the thoughts are in the form of indecision. So, mana is indecisive mode. Intellect is what? Niṣṭhayātmika buddhi. When the thoughts are in the form of niṣṭhaya, decision. So, decisive mode. That is what is the intellect. Okay. What is chitta? Chintana kartru chittam. What is chitta? Swa-artha anusandhana gunena chittam. That's how Shankaracharya explains in Vivekachoodamani, verse number 94. Chittam means what? The thoughts which are recollecting. Memory. Thoughts which are in recollection mode. And last one is ahaṃkāraḥ, ego. What is this? This ahaṃkāraḥ is I thought, which provides I to all other kinds of thoughts. Example, simple. What is this? It's a watch. Okay. So, how do you know it's a watch? I know it's a watch because of my thought. Thought is the only way that I can gain knowledge. Now, that thought is coming in mind. How? The mind, now see how many things are happening. The mind is going out through the senses, perceiving an object. Now, the memory has got name of this object stored, which it recollects and tells me that this is a watch. You understand what all things are happening? Now, even when I say this is a watch, my actual thought is, I know this is a watch. While verbalizing the thought, I will say this is a watch, this is a table, this is a light, this is a screen. But in my mind, actually what is happening? I know this is a watch, I know this is a table, I know this is the screen, I know. So that I know is added everywhere. How? That is that ahaṃkāraḥ. That is the job of ahaṃkāraḥ. Now, if we really think little further, in antaḥkarana itself, this mana, buddhi and chitta are similar kind of thoughts. Ahaṃkāraḥ is a totally different kind of thought, which is, so to say, base of all the thoughts of mana, buddhi and chitta. You understand? Mana, buddhi, chitta, everything is thought only. But the kind of thought is little different. And that's why we will see in some of the texts, Ramana Maharshi, etc., such great Mahatmas, they will say that antaḥkarana has only two types of thoughts: aham vritti and idam vritti. The I thought and the this thought. So this is a watch, this is my friend, that is sun. So this, that, these are all idam vrittis, which are all backed, supported by aham vritti. I know this is a watch, I know this is a friend, I know that is sun. So this aham vritti or ahaṃkāraḥ is, so to say, the support of all the other kinds of thoughts. That's why in Upadeshara, etc., Ramana Maharshi will say that what is mind? You ask the question, what is mind? Manasam tu kim margane krite naiva manasam margarjavat. Then it will say vrittayastu aham vrittimāśritaḥ vrittayo manah vidyam manah. Then he will say that mind is having two kinds of thoughts, aham vritti and idam vritti. And all idam vrittis are supported by aham vritti. So actually what is mind? Aham vritti is mind. This ahaṃkāraḥ is mind. That's how he will do his analysis. We don't have to go there. That is a different method of analysis. But what I want to tell you is, this ahaṃkāraḥ that I thought is little different category than all the thoughts in mana, buddhi and chitta. Now what is that? That is being explained now. You see now. Antaḥkaraṇameteṣu cakṣurādiṣu varṣmaṇi ahamityabhimānena tiṣṭhati. Antaḥkaraṇam means the inner instrument. Eteṣu cakṣurādiṣu, in the eyes, etc. Eteshu, in all these, cakṣuhu, eyes, etc. In the eyes, etc. means in the sense organs, etc. And varṣmaṇi, varṣman means body. In the body, this ahamityabhimānena tiṣṭhati. Tiṣṭhati, it stays with the ahamiti abhimana, with the identification as I. So that which identifies with the senses, the body, the mind, the intellect, and says that this is me, is this ahaṃkāraḥ. Careful. That which says that I am these senses, I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, that is called as ahaṃkāraḥ. What we see in the chart as PFT, perceiver, feeler, thinker. Why? Because that perceiver, though is perceiving the world of objects through the body, identifies with the body and says, I am this, or this is me. This body is me, this mind is me. Who is that who is identifying? See, Paramatma cannot identify that, Om cannot identify. Who is that which is identifying? That is ahaṃkāraḥ. ahamityabhimānena tiṣṭhati. Now the question is, how does it get power to say that it is I? Careful. Who is real I? Who is real I? Om. Now I think that I am this PFT, the ahaṃkāraḥ. How does ahaṃkāraḥ get the power to say that I am real me? It is bluffing me. It is showing me who I am not. Agreed. But how does it get power to say that I am this? See, body by itself doesn't have that power. Body by itself cannot say that I am body. How does it get power? That is explained by the last word, abhāsatejasā. Abhasa, apparent or apparent. Tejasā, by the apparent consciousness. By the apparent consciousness, by the reflection of consciousness. Has this concept come before? Reflection of consciousness? Chidabhasa, chitchaya. Remember? Now what happens? The moment there is a subtle instrument, the consciousness gets reflected in that subtle instrument. Consciousness gets reflected in the subtle instrument. Now the subtle instrument we said is fourfold. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahaṃkāra. Correct? Or if we have to just reduce it, we can say it is twofold. Aham vritti and idam vritti. Because mana, buddhi, chitta is included in idam vritti. Now what happens? This reflection of consciousness, the reflection that is happening in the subtle instrument, so to say, becomes one with this aham vritti. Imagine there is a water. There is a bucket. Inside the bucket there is water. Now in that water, the sun is getting reflected. Now though the sun is getting reflected into entire water, but you can see its reflection only in a circle. Isn't it? See, sun is getting reflected into entire water, but that reflection is seen by us. We see the reflection only as small. We don't see that entire water is sun. No, in that water there is sun. Reflection of sun. Isn't it? Now, this bucket is gross body. The water is the subtle body. Sun is the consciousness. Reflection of sun that we see in that bucket of water is reflection of consciousness. And the portion of water where the reflection is seen, that is ahaṃkāra. Careful. This methodology, prakriya, is called as Pratibimbavada, methodology of reflection. Again I will explain. The bucket is the gross body. It is the house of experience. We have seen. In that bucket there is water, which is reflective medium, which is the subtle body. The real sun is consciousness, who is unaware of reflection, who is unaware of water, who is unaware of bucket, and who is not doing anything. That sun is like the consciousness. Now, reflection of that sun happening into that bucket of water is reflection of consciousness, called as chidabhasa. Here it is called as abhāsatejasā. The apparent consciousness, the reflection of consciousness. Now, in that entire water, the portion where the sun is seen, the reflected sun is seen, that portion of water is called as ahaṃkāra. See, it is part of entire water. Antaḥkaraṇa is the entire water, inner instrument. Now, in that, the portion where we see the reflection, that is ahaṃkāra. Now, what happens? The water doesn't have capacity to illumine anything. The bucket doesn't have capacity to illumine anything. But now, the water along with the reflection of sun gets the capacity to illumine itself, the bucket and the surrounding area. Generally, they give another example to explain this. Suppose there is bucket of water placed outside the room. Our ancestors were very clever. So that bucket of water is outside the room. The sun is getting reflected and that reflection is entering into room and illumining the room. Sun is not illumining the room directly. Because the curtains are there and everything is closed, therefore sunlight is not coming, but the reflected sunlight is coming and illumining the room. We have done all these things, you remember? We used to take that small mirror and we will do like this. That mirror will show on the other, some neighbor's wall, etc. We will do the reflection. Now remember, that wall, sun is not reaching. See, if the sun is reaching the wall, no, then this reflection cannot be seen. Because reflection is so dim as compared to the original sunlight. Isn't it? But this reflected light illumines that portion of wall. Inherently, mirror doesn't have capacity to illumine anything. It has capacity to reflect, agreed. But it doesn't have capacity to illumine. But what does it do? It borrows light from the sun, illumines itself, illumines the bucket, and illumines the little world around it. That is what happens with this ahaṃkāra. Ahaṃkāra is part of antaḥkaraṇa, which is inert. It is made up of matter, subtle matter, agreed, but it is still matter. It doesn't have capacity of sentiency, it doesn't have. But it borrows that sentiency from the consciousness, because of which we can know antaḥkaraṇa, we can know body, and we can know world around us through antaḥkaraṇa. Are you getting? Are you getting? That is what is called as ahaṃkāra. Now further, it doesn't just borrow consciousness from the self and illumines. Not just that, it identifies with the water and says, this is light or this is me. It identifies with the body and say, this is me. To say that this is me, that I is coming from where? The original consciousness, Om, is borrowing that I from the Om and putting it on the body and saying that I am body. Body is different, I am different. But this ahaṃkāra is identifying both of them. And thus we have experience of I am the body, I am the mind, I am happy, I am sad, I am tall, I am short. Who is tall? Body is tall. Who is short? Body is short. Who is happy? Mind is happy. How does that experience that I am happy come? That I is coming from where? That I is the borrowed I. That ahaṃkāra has borrowed from the original consciousness. And it has presented as though it is the real I. And thus we don't even recognize that I am not this I which I keep saying. I keep saying, no, I am this, I am that, I am that. That I is not real me. That is ahaṃkāra posing as consciousness. He has a boss from where he has got all the powers. But he doesn't want to show that boss. He wants to show everybody that I am the boss. That is ahaṃkāra. Careful. Now you see, in physics, we say that the watch is inert, but I am sentient. Watch is an object, inert object, but I am a sentient being. This is how we distinguish, isn't it? And the sentiency is measured in physics by the capacity of movement. If it is able to move independently, it is said to be sentient. Isn't it? In physics, that's how we understand. Although it's not a complete explanation. Otherwise, you will have to call river also as sentient. It moves by itself. Water is moving or no? but water is still inert according to physics. So there is further explanation required. But in Vedanta, what do we say? Vedanta, we say, I appear to be sentient because of the sentiency that is borrowed from the consciousness by ahaṃkāra. So ahaṃkāra has borrowed that sentiency from consciousness and has identified with the body, and therefore body appears to be sentient. I seem to be moving my hands independently. I appear to be sentient, but remember that sentiency is not its own. That sentiency is borrowed sentiency, and therefore the moment ahaṃkāra leaves this body and takes up the next body, this body is no more sentient, cannot move by itself. Do you agree? That is what we call as death. Ahaṃkāra, the subtle body, has left the gross body and has taken up another gross body. Now the moment that capacity of borrowing sentiency which is with subtle body, the moment that is gone, this body can no more be called as sentient. Isn't it? Therefore, the dead body needs to be taken to the crematory. You cannot say to the dead body, get up, we have to go. Now it cannot move. Not even a finger, the body will be able to move. So what does Vedanta say? Vedanta says, since the capacity is not inherent to the body, since the capacity is not even inherent to the mind, we say that the body is inert, mind is also inert, antaḥkaraṇa is also inert. It appears sentient, agreed. But that is because of the borrowed sentiency, not because of the inherent sentiency. Okay, and that borrowing is done because of subtle body being reflective. It has a capacity to borrow sentiency. And what is the role of ahaṃkāra? Ahaṃkāra identifies with the body, mind, etc. and says that now that borrowed sentiency, it puts on all these. That I am the body, I am the mind, I am intellect, I am my senses, everywhere. That borrowed sentiency is put to all these other instruments by ahaṃkāra. That is what ahaṃkāra does. Now what about the watch? What happens? Why it is called as inert directly? Because though it has gross body is the body that we perceive. There is a gross body to the watch, but there is no subtle body to the watch. And because of which there is no reflection of consciousness happening. There is no ahaṃkāra to identify with this watch and to say that I am watch. But in all living beings, animals, birds, insects, reptiles, trees, what happens? There is a gross body, there is also a subtle body which is being reflective, borrows the sentiency, and there is ahaṃkāra which identifies with that gross body and makes that experience for that being that I am this body. Are you understanding what is happening here? Now, this ahaṃkāra, this I thought, this ego is a very interesting thing. Why do you say it is a very interesting thing? Because it belongs to neither. It neither belongs to Om nor does it belong to BMI. Think. It neither belongs to Om. Why? Because it is inert. Om is sentient. Nor does it belong to BMI. Why? Because BMI are instrument. This ahaṃkāra is the doer. The one who is using the instrument and the instrument itself are always different. Yes or no? We have seen earlier that the real, what we say is the sentient entity to which all the instrument belong is Om. But now there has come in between Om and BMI, one entity has come, posing to be Om, using BMI to experience OET. That PFT is ahaṃkāra, is the jiva, is the individuality. In the olden days, marriages used to be very long. Though some of us might not have seen, but we have heard. And marriages never used to be in the hall, etc. So in the house only, outside the house there will be a pendal, etc. will be placed, and all the relatives, everybody will be there for 10 days. So cooking also is done by in-house only, and everything is done by people, all the relatives will be there. Now among all these relatives, there is one fellow who comes and stays there. Nobody knows who is he, but everybody thinks that he belongs to the other side. Because in marriage what happens, suppose son's marriage is there, then from both parents, their families, etc. are there. And this fellow also doesn't stay quietly. He has lots of demands, lots of complaints that this is not happening properly, and he will go in the kitchen also and say, what is today's breakfast, what is today's lunch, prepare properly, okay. He's running around. No, the host for few days, they observe. And after few days, it starts getting irritating. Because the fellow, wherever you keep, in the marriage house, obviously everything is not going to be perfect, because it's a marriage house. So it's going to be left and right. So you have to adjust. Sleep somewhere, eat little bit, eat little late, all these things. But the fellow is complaining. Once suddenly the host calls the wife and says, hey, who is he? She says, I don't know, I thought he is from your side. He says, no, I thought he is from your side. Now the moment you start inquiring who is he, by the time you reach him, he is vanished. Why? Because he neither belongs to the groom's side, nor to the bride's side, nor anybody's side. He is just there, as though doing everything. That is this ahaṃkāra. He neither belongs to the Om, nor belongs to the BMI, but still poses to be Om, and as though performs everything. He is the one who is causing all the trouble to us. He is the cause of our samsara. Who? That ahaṃkāra. Now how to get rid of it? You just inquire, who are you? The moment you start inquiring, it will vanish. It will vanish. Right? So this ahaṃkāra, borrowing the consciousness, sentiency from the self and identifying with the gross body, senses, mind, etc., poses to be the self. It is this ahaṃkāra which has got name, which has got status, which has got caste, which has got state of life, stage of life. All this is who? That is the ahaṃkāra. Brahmachari Ved Chaitanya. Who is it? Ahaṃkāra. Self cannot have name. I am a young man. Who is young? This ahaṃkāra. Why? Identifying with the gross body. The gross body is young. Ahaṃkāra says, I am young. I am an Indian. Why? Because the gross body is born in India. Ahaṃkāra identifying with that gross body says, I am Indian. How dare you talk to me? Why? I am a Brahmana. Why? Because the gross body was born to Brahmana parents. Therefore, the ahaṃkāra says, I am Brahmana. I am Shudra. I am Vaishya. I am Stri. I am a lady. I am a man. Who is this I which keeps taking all these different kinds of roles? That is the ahaṃkāra. As long as I feel that I am this ahaṃkāra, there is no possibility of realization. What is realization? To understand that I am not ahaṃkāra, I am the consciousness. Are you getting? That is ahaṃkāra. Now, what does it do? This ahaṃkāra only does everything. Shankaracharya explains in the next verse. What is this job of ahaṃkāra? Let us read. Ahaṃkārasya vijñeyaḥ kartā bhoktābhimānyayam sattvādiguṇayogena cāvasthātrayamaśnute. Ahaṃkārasya vijñeyaḥ kartā bhoktābhimānyayam sattvādiguṇayogena cāvasthātrayamaśnute. Sah ahaṃkārah vijñeyaḥ. Vijñeyaḥ, know. Know that to be ahaṃkāra. What? Kartā, doer. Bhokta, enjoyer. Abhimāni, one who identifies. I am this. This, the doer, the enjoyer, the one who identifies. Know this to be that ahaṃkāra. Okay. Means what? Any time I am using any sentence which is either explaining myself to be the doer or the enjoyer or the knower, know that I am talking as ahaṃkāra. I am coming. I am writing. I am speaking. I am listening. Kartā. I am enjoying. I am sleeping. I am eating. Every single time I consider myself to be doer, enjoyer, knower, etc., etc., at all such times that I is ahaṃkāra and not the real I. Gurudev would explain this as small I and the big I. The small I is this ahaṃkāra, who poses itself to be big I, Om, the consciousness. So it is kartā, bhokta, abhimāni. And then what does it do? Sattvādiguṇayogena cha, yogena, by uniting with the gunas, which the sattvādiguna, sattva, rajas, tamas gunas we have heard, by uniting with them, cāvasthātrayamaśnute. It experiences the three states. What are the three states? Swamiji, three states, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. No. Three states. We are talking about Vedanta. What are the three avasthas? The Jagrat, waking, Swapna, dream, Sushupti, deep sleep. Isn't it? That is what is the three states. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Now, who is the one who is going through the three states? What do you mean? I am the one. Now that I which you think is going through the three states is this ahaṃkāra. I slept nicely. Who slept? Ahaṃkāra. Are you awake? Of course. Of course I am awake. There is one very famous story. It is generally attributed to Bhagavan Buddha. It is said Bhagavan Buddha was teaching once and so many disciples were sitting and one fellow was in the class sleeping. It happens, I know. Many people keep the video off for that reason only, so that I will not know. Good only, thank you. So that I will not know. But if you sit in the class and dozing is natural, so you start little bit. So Bhagavan Buddha once said, "Are you sleeping?" No. Because when you immediately know that he is talking to me, no. And after some time again he is little bit dozing, and then again Bhagavan Buddha said, "Are you sleeping?" No. Immediately answered. Third time when he was sleeping, Bhagavan Buddha changed the question. He said, "Are you alive?" No. He said, "Now you have spoken correctly." Now, who is that who is awake? I saw a beautiful dream. Who is that who saw the dream? Who is the one who is sleeping? That is this ahaṃkāra. And Shankaracharya says, how does that ahaṃkāra experience the three states? Sattvādiguṇayogena. By uniting, by being with these three gunas. Means what? When sattva and rajas is pradhana, it is called as jagrata avastha. Sattva is also there, you are aware and at the same time you are ready to act. You are able to act. Sattva and rajas together, when it is there functioning, you are in jagrata avastha. When rajas and tamas are together, it is called as swapna avastha. You are not aware of the world. No knowledge is taking place. But there is lot of rajas, lot of activity. Oh, entire world is being created in the dream, isn't it? Lot of activity, but overpowered by tamas. Why? Because actually you are sleeping. And when there is no sattva, no rajas, only tamas is there. That is sushupti. Right? Sometimes you will also hear chaturtha avastha, turiya. The fourth state, the state of realization. They will call it turiya because they want to say that it is different from jagrat, swapna, sushupti. Now what is that? When gunatita, when that ahaṃkāra goes beyond the gunas. Means what? When ahaṃkāra drops itself. When ahaṃkāra is fully functioning, it is in waking state. When ahaṃkāra is half awake, partially functioning, the ahaṃkāra is in dream state. When the ahaṃkāra is sleeping, not functioning, he is in deep sleep state. And when that ahaṃkāra is dissolved, it is no more ahaṃkāra, that is the turiya state. Sometimes they will use the term badhita ahaṃkāra, falsified ego, for that explaining the turiya state. Badhita ahaṃkāra, falsified ego. They will explain it in with the example of burnt rope. Rope is there, but it is burnt. It looks like rope, but if you touch, there is only ash. The rope has strength. The burnt rope doesn't have any strength, but it still appears as though it is rope. That is called as badhita ahaṃkāra. Badhita ahaṃkāra is the term generally used for jnanis, the realized masters who are in this turiya state. But it is this ahaṃkāra which goes through the three states of jagrat, swapna, sushupti, the waking, dream and deep sleep. Isn't it? Those who have studied tattvabodha, etc., in each state, when the ahaṃkāra is going through that state, that ahaṃkāra gets a special name. So when the ahaṃkāra is in waking state, is called as Vakar, Vishwa. When ahaṃkāra is in dream state, means what? That ahaṃkāra is a dreamer, Taijasa. And in deep sleep state, that ahaṃkāra is a deep sleeper, Pradnya. These are the terms that are used. Now this Vishwa, Taijasa, Pradnya put together is this Jiva or is this ahaṃkāra. The one that goes through the three states, experiences everything in the three states, performs actions in the three states, becomes the doer and enjoyer. This is what is ahaṃkāra. Okay, what is the problem? Let the ahaṃkāra function. No, what is your issue? See, Vedanta, no, this is what I don't understand for Vedanta. They do lot of analysis, but purpose? Arey, purpose is there. What? This idiot ahaṃkāra now becomes happy or sad. Sometimes joy, sometimes sorrowful. Who? The ahaṃkāra becomes. But because it is posing as the self, you feel that you are happy. The mind is happy, but this ahaṃkāra puts that happiness on you and say, you are happy. The mind is sad, ahaṃkāra puts that sorrow on you and says, you are sad. I am happy, I am sad, I am dejected, I am desperate, I am desiring. All this I, it puts on you. That is the problem with ahaṃkāra. Actually, the entire samsara is standing on the foundation of this ahaṃkāra. As long as it is there, samsara will stay. The moment it is dissolved, samsara will vanish. In the path of knowledge, this destruction of ahaṃkāra is the final step, where you do purification of mind, chitta shuddhi, chitta ekagrata, then guru upasadana, then shravana, manana, nididhyasana. We have seen all that. In that stage of nididhyasana, savikalpa samadhi, then nirvikalpa samadhi, that aham brahmasmi vritti is maintained. Remember, we had all discussed. That time what happens? That aham vritti merges with Brahman. At that time, samsara is over and one gets liberation. In the path of devotion, bhakti marga, ahaṃkāra is to be surrendered in the beginning. That is the first step of bhakti, sharanagati. Now you see what happens when the ahaṃkāra is surrendered. Remember, I told you ahaṃkāra is the foundation for samsara. When that foundation is only not there, the bhakta doesn't consider samsara to be a problem. Why? Because ahaṃkāra is surrendered to God. Then what is samsara? Creation of God. So, let it continue. Vare mere Bhagavan. He enjoys. No, but samsara is so bad. For whom? For whom? The one who thinks that it is bad, it is bad. The one who doesn't have ahaṃkāra left, who has surrendered unto God, how can it be bad? It is God's world, how can it be bad? Anything that my God has created, how can it be bad? No, but we keep saying no, that we have to be, that is all true for path of knowledge. I am just showing you the difference. The path of knowledge, this ahaṃkāra is to be destroyed at the end. In the bhakti, path of devotion, bhakti marga, the surrender has to happen as the first step. Therefore, those who say that bhakti marga is very easy, try, then you will know. Of course, it is easy in the sense that anybody can start. But Bhakti Marga really starts when the surrender has happened, which is not an easy thing. To surrender this ahaṃkāra is not an easy thing. Okay, now let me ask another question. Who is surrendering ahaṃkāra? Who is surrendering? It is ahaṃkāra surrendering itself. You think easily it will surrender? You think? It wants to survive. Why will it put down its weapons and say that now you do whatever you want to do and kill me? No. It will not say like that. If you really think, no, we are such complicated creatures. Sometimes when we are sad, even we want to show people that we are sad. Why? Because through that we get little joy. See, I am telling you, we are very complicated people. Means, suppose you are sad. That is not sufficient. Somebody didn't call you for lunch. When all of them went, they didn't call you for lunch. Now what? Now you want to show all those people who didn't call you that you are angry on them, or you are sad or depressed or whatever because they did not call you. You won't go and tell, but you will sit very long face somewhere. And then somebody will come and ask, "Hey, what happened?" Nothing. "Hey, tell na, what happened?" Nothing. Leave me alone. You want to remain sad, and you want to show that you... See, this is what ahaṃkāra is. Even when ahaṃkāra is posing as a negative entity, no? Sad, depressed, angry, even there it wants to show itself to be great. Even there. Do you think such ahaṃkāra will surrender itself so easily? Not easy. The point is, as long as the ahaṃkāra is there, samsara will continue. What samsara? Sukha dukkhatmaka samsara. That is what Shankaracharya explains in the next verse. Let us see. Verse number 105. Viṣayāṇāmānukūlye sukhī duḥkhī viparyaye sukhaṃ duḥkhaṃ ca taddharmaḥ sadānandasya nātmanaḥ viṣayāṇāmānukūlye sukhī duḥkhī viparyaye sukhaṃ duḥkhaṃ ca taddharmaḥ sadānandasya nātmanaḥ. He says, Viṣayāṇām ānukūlye sukhī. This ahaṃkāra, sukhī, becomes happy when Viṣayāṇām ānukūlye, when the objects outside are favorable. So, I like certain things. If those things are there, I am happy. Who is happy? This ahaṃkāra. Viparyaye, in other conditions, means when it is not favorable, duḥkhī, it becomes sad. Sit for lunch, you see the plate and you immediately, who made this sabji? How many times I have told you I don't like it? Why? Duḥkhī. Why? Viṣayāṇām pratikulye. It is non-favorable to me. I become duḥkhī, angry. See, anger, etc. is all different forms of dukkha only. But if it is nice food, everything that I like, then sukhī. Sukhaṃ duḥkhaṃ cha, this joy and sorrow, taddharmaḥ. These are the attributes of ahaṃkāra. Na sadānandasya ātmanaḥ, and not of the self, who is how? Sada ananda, who is ever blissful. Don't break this Sadananda as Sat Ananda. It can be done that way also. Sat plus Ananda also will become Sadananda. But why will Shankaracharya say Sat Ananda? Satchid Ananda is generally the term, isn't it? Here it is Sada Ananda. Means what? The self is ever in the state of bliss. So it doesn't go through phases of Sukha and Dukkha, joy and sorrow. It is ever blissful. So who is the one who is going through these phases of joy and sorrow? It is this ahaṃkāra. In case of Jnani, what happens? The Jnani says, I am that self and not the ahaṃkāra. So even when the ahaṃkāra is happy, Jnani says it doesn't matter to me. Why? I am always happy. Why? I am Om. So I am always in the state of bliss. Getting the difference? Yogaratova, bhogaratova, sangaratova, sangavihinaha. Yasya brahmani ramate chittam. Nandati, nandati, nandati eva. Why? Because he is in the state of ananda, not sukha dukkha state. Because sukha dukkha states are going to change. Today sukha, next day dukkha, next day sukha, next day. It's going to change. That is samsara. It is going to happen. So when the sukha dukkha is changing, if you also change along with that, become sukhī, become duḥkhī, become sukhī, become duḥkhī, then you are identifying with ahaṃkāra. The sine wave. Up, down you will go. But that analog signal, one straight line. What is that? That is Ananda. It doesn't go up and down, up and down. Are you getting the point? So Shankaracharya ji, like he has explained in all the previous things, that this andatva, mandyatva, all these characteristics belong to the eyes, belong to the senses, not to the self. Here also he says, all these things, being happy, becoming sad, becoming angry, all these belong to the ahaṃkāra, not to the self, not to me. That is the topic that he is concluding with. So he has explained what is ahaṃkāra, what is the function of ahaṃkāra, and he has explained what are the characteristics of ahaṃkāra which are wrongly attributed to the self. In Atmabodha, etc., various examples are given. Drishyate bhreshu dhavatsu dhavan nivayatha shashi. When we are traveling, the car, etc., we see that the clouds are moving. But actually what happens? The moon appears to be moving. When we are going in car, we think that the moon is also coming with us. Actually what is happening? We are moving. Moon is not moving. Moon is at the same place. Now in the olden times, this car, etc., was not there. So Shankaracharya ji gave simple example. You are sitting at one place. The clouds are moving. And because of the movement of the clouds and the association with the moon appears to be moving in the other direction. So clouds are moving like this, moon appears to be moving like that. So the function of the clouds is wrongly attributed to the moon. Like that. These all becoming kartā, becoming bhokta, doer, enjoyer, these are all functions of ahaṃkāra. Becoming happy, becoming sad, these are all qualities of ahaṃkāra. They are wrongly attributed to the real self. The real self can neither become sukhī nor duḥkhī. It's in the state of ananda. Now next two verses are very, very interesting. Why? Because Shankaracharya ji establishes the fact that self is of the nature of ananda. He says that anyways now the topic has come, let me take that also. Why? Because I am Sat, I am existence. We can understand. I exist. I am consciousness. I know. That also we can understand. We have inherent capacity of knowledge. That also we can understand. But I am of the nature of bliss. Very difficult to accept. Why? Because it doesn't match with our experience. Most of the time we are sad only. What happened to you today? Nothing. Then why are you sad? Don't know. For no reason also we are sad. So the person who continuously remains in sorrow, okay, Swami, chalo, for one moment I will accept also that I am of the nature of bliss. What about these other people? All the time crying. How can you say that they are of the nature of Ananda? Shankaracharya takes that and explains to us how Ananda is my nature. How do we actually experience joy? That joy belongs to whom? From where is the joy coming? All these different topics Shankaracharya says and concludes this entire discussion on subtle body. So the next two verses, 106, 107, the topic of subtle body, Sukshma Sharira, is concluded, and another beautiful topic of causal body, Maya, starts. Alright. Two verses have to be done together, so we will not do any one today. We will do it in the next session. Alright, chalo. Some homework I should give. For a long time I have not given any homework. Good thing. The homework is, please think and come. How do we become happy? Analyze all the times that we are becoming happy in this next week till the next session. Analyze. I am not just saying note. Analyze. When I become happy, what exactly happens? What is the cause from which that happiness is coming? Okay? Reflect, analyze, and come for the next session. Okay. Chalo. Let us conclude. We'll meet next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om.